There was a voice that haunted the airwaves during World War II. A woman speaking in English, broadcasting from the heart of Japan. She went by many names: Tokyo Rose, Anna, Orphan Anne, even Olive Oil. But they all referred to the same thing: a female, English-speaking radio broadcaster for Japanese propaganda. Her broadcasts were aimed at degrading morale among Allied forces, targeting American soldiers in the South Pacific and North America. The voice was seductive, her messages carefully crafted to sow discord and undermine the war effort. The name Tokyo Rose is an alternative spelling of Tokyo Roses, a moniker that referred to all female English-speaking radio broadcasters of Japanese propaganda during the war. There were several women who could speak English and worked for a Japanese-produced radio program called The Hour. These women became known collectively as Tokyo Rose. The broadcasts were particularly prominent in the final stages of World War II, spreading disinformation and demoralizing messages to Allied troops. One of these women was an American-born Japanese named Iva Toguri Takino. Her story would become a symbol of the power of propaganda and the complexities of identity during wartime. She was chosen out of the NHK Radio Tokyo typing pool to broadcast pro-Japanese propaganda during the war. Her radio shows were mostly about music and light entertainment rather than direct political messages. Her broadcasts became an infamous legend after the war, as she was convicted of treason for her work during World War II. But who was Tokyo Rose? What made her so powerful and influential that her voice echoed across the Pacific? By the end of the war, the myth of Tokyo Roses would be shattered into countless pieces, revealing a complex tale of identity, propaganda, and the power of voice during wartime. And as we delve deeper into her story, you'll discover how a simple radio broadcast came to hold such power and influence over the lives of Allied troops during one of history's most tumultuous periods. Before we begin, a small request. Most of the people listening tonight aren't subscribed. If this channel has ever helped you drift off, take a moment to subscribe. It's free, it helps this channel more than you'd think, and you can always change your mind later. And if you feel like it, leave a comment telling me where in the world you're listening from and what time it is where you are. I love reading them. One more thing before we begin. I'm also a co-founder of a sleep app, built to be the most affordable one out there. No ads, ever. Just sounds and stories made to help you sleep. It may not be released yet as this video goes up, but if you're watching a little later, it might be out by now. Just search for it, it should be easy to find. It works on iPhone, Android, and everything in between. Downloading it is the best way to support this channel. In the summer of 1944, in a small, dimly lit studio in Tokyo, a young woman sits behind a microphone, preparing to broadcast her message across the Pacific. Her voice is soft but determined. Her childhood was spent between worlds, the familiar streets of Los Angeles and the distant, often romanticized shores of Japan. In 1941, as tensions between the United States and Japan escalated, Iva left for Japan to care for her ailing aunt. Trapped in Japan following the attack on Pearl Harbor, she was forced to renounce her US citizenship, a stark reminder that even as she embraced her Japanese heritage, her American roots were being severed. Desperate to find work and make ends meet in a country now at war with her homeland, she found herself employed by the Domi news agency in Tokyo as a typist and interpreter. Here she first encountered the propaganda broadcasts of Radio Tokyo, a name that would soon become infamous. Amidst the chaos and uncertainty, her life took another unexpected turn when she was selected from the Domi typing pool to work for a program called 0 Hour. Little did she know that this decision would thrust her into the heart of a historical event where a simple radio broadcast held immense power and influence over the lives of Allied troops. As we delve deeper into her story, you'll discover how a seemingly ordinary woman became embroiled in one of the most intriguing and controversial episodes of World War II. Initially known as The Orphan Anne Show, the program is renamed 0 Hour, a moniker that would come to hold significant historical weight. Iva acts as a disc jockey and announcer for 0 Hour, her words carried by the airwaves to listeners across vast distances. But little do the soldiers tuning in know that the voice they are hearing is trained by Allied POWs to read and write her segments. Their words, penned as propaganda, flow through the radio waves, aimed at shaping the minds of those who are fighting far from home. And how Iva Toguri Dakino, the woman behind 0 Hour, would become an infamous figure in the annals of wartime broadcasting. Broadcasts from 0 Hour carried a unique and sinister power, designed to sow confusion and fear among Allied troops. One of the most potent tactics employed was the broadcasting of fabricated stories about battles and losses. Radio Tokyo would report on supposedly devastating losses, claiming that tens of thousands of sailors were lost in a single battle. These reports were often accompanied by exaggerated accounts of destroyed aircraft carriers and downed planes. One particularly infamous broadcast claimed that the Japanese Imperial Navy had sunk or damaged nearly 100 vessels, with over 268 planes shot down in a single engagement. The intent was clear: to demoralize Allied troops by making them believe they were being decimated on all fronts. These fabricated broadcasts often targeted specific units, aiming to undermine their morale and resilience. For instance, sailors aboard the Lexington received false news that their carrier had been lost while they were at sea. The impact of such propaganda was profound. Troops would listen in disbelief and fear, wondering if their comrades had truly met such a grim fate. But the true power of propaganda lay not just in its ability to spread false information, but also in its capacity to sow doubt and uncertainty among those who heard it. These radio programs were specifically aimed at Naval, Marine, and Army Air Forces personnel. They incorporated entertainment elements alongside disinformation, creating a unique blend that could captivate listeners. The Japanese strategically used racial themes to divide their audience. By playing on existing tensions and prejudices, they hoped to weaken the unity among Allied troops. These emotional appeals were designed to demoralize Allied troops, creating a tangible impact on their psychological state. However, these efforts backfired in an unexpected way. Instead of demoralizing the soldiers, the broadcasts often had the opposite effect. The soldiers found the emotional themes and disinformation so absurd that they rallied together, strengthening their resolve and unity against a common enemy. This surprising turn of events highlights the complex nature of propaganda and its unintended consequences. In conclusion, the Tokyo Rosie's broadcasts demonstrated a powerful attempt to manipulate emotions and undermine morale, but ultimately, they failed to achieve their intended goal. After Japan's surrender in 1945, Iva Toguri found herself stranded in a post-war world, her fate uncertain. Her broadcasts, which had once been a lifeline to the comfort of home and family, now represented a tangled web of conflicting loyalties and complicated emotions. Upon returning to the United States, Iva Toguri was detained by the FBI in 1945. The circumstances of her broadcasts and the nature of her allegiance were under scrutiny, leaving her to navigate a treacherous legal landscape. Charged with 8 counts of treason, Iva Toguri faced the full weight of the law. Her case was a complex one, reflecting not just her actions but also the broader historical context and the intricate web of wartime propaganda. Ultimately, Iva Toguri was convicted of 1 count of treason and sentenced to 10 years in prison with a 10,000-baht fine. Her sentence marked not just the end of her legal ordeal, but also a poignant moment in the history of wartime propaganda and its lasting effects. Released on parole in January 1956, Iva Toguri's life after imprisonment would reveal more about the complexities of loyalty and national identity during wartime. But for now, the curtain closes on her trial, leaving a trail of questions that will be explored further in the chapters to come. With each chapter, we'll piece together the puzzle of Tokyo Rose and the enduring legacy she left behind. The prosecution built their case primarily on perjured testimony from 2 former POWs, who alleged that Iva had been part of a propaganda scheme designed to degrade the morale of Allied forces. The legal consequences of her actions during the war were severe. Iva's conviction marked a pivotal moment in American history, highlighting the complexities and controversies surrounding wartime treason cases. Her case would later become a subject of debate and scrutiny, with many questioning the fairness of her trial and the legitimacy of the evidence used against her. For now, Iva Toguri would serve her time, a symbolic figure in the aftermath of one of the world's most devastating conflicts. Her story serves as a reminder of the tangled web of wartime politics and the human cost of treason allegations. As we continue to unravel the complexities of her case, one question remains: who was Tokyo Rose? And what role did her broadcast truly play in the course of World War II? In the aftermath of World War II, Iva Toguri stepped out of the courtroom, a convicted felon. 6 years and 2 months of her life would be spent behind bars, imprisoned for a crime that had divided public opinion. Her imprisonment was not the end of her story. It was only the beginning of another chapter in her complex journey. Her life after conviction was marked by the weight of her sentence and the uncertainty of her future. The public remained divided on whether she was a traitor or a scapegoat, caught in the crosshairs of wartime politics. Her journey did not stop at her release from prison. In 1977, President Gerald Ford granted her a full pardon, recognizing the injustices she had endured and acknowledging that her trial was marred by perjury and a lack of substantial evidence. The pardon was a vindication of sorts, a recognition that her conviction was not based on solid evidence, but rather on the political climate and wartime hysteria. Despite the hardships and controversies she faced, Iva continued to live her life with resilience and dignity. Her story serves as a reminder of the complexities of wartime politics and the enduring power of radio broadcasts during times of conflict. Her true identity remained shrouded in mystery for years, adding layers of intrigue to the legend of Tokyo Rose. Her true identity remained unknown to most, contributing to the enduring fascination with her story. For years, she was just a voice, an enigma that captivated Allied troops and historians alike. Despite her conviction, many remained captivated by her story. The question of her true allegiance and the extent of her influence lingered, keeping the legend of Tokyo Rose alive in public memory. Perhaps we will never fully unravel the mystery of Tokyo Rose, but her story remains a poignant reminder of the human faces behind even the most complex historical narratives. Her story is a testament to the human side of war, where acts of compassion and personal struggles intertwine with propaganda and geopolitical tensions. Iva's visits to POW cells were almost daily, putting herself at mortal risk to deliver food, medicine, clothing, and hope to those in need. The POWs who wrote her shows were often subjected to brutal conditions, beaten and starved into compliance. Yet amidst this dark reality, Iva's efforts provided a glimmer of hope for those trapped in the cells. Iva's acts of humanity during these trying times are a stark reminder that even amidst the most brutal conflicts, there exists a capacity for kindness and resilience within us all. This personal struggle was not merely abstract. Iva faced real dangers, confronting mortal risks with every visit to the POW cells. Her actions were a testament to her unwavering commitment to helping others. Iva Toguri's story continues to resonate, sparking ongoing debates about her actions and legacy. Some historians argue that Iva was merely a victim of circumstance, forced to broadcast propaganda under duress. Others contend she willingly participated in Japan's psychological warfare strategy, aiming to demoralize Allied troops. But the true nature of her role remains elusive, shrouded in controversy and myth. Did she actively support Japan's cause, or was she a pawn in their propaganda machine? This question has left historians and scholars divided. While intended to demoralize, they often had the opposite effect, boosting morale among those who listened. This paradox highlights the complex nature of propaganda and its unpredictable effects. As we reflect on Iva Toguri's story, it's crucial to consider these nuances and the broader context of World War II. Her legacy serves as a reminder of the enduring impact of war propaganda and the importance of critical thinking. Perhaps more than anything, it challenges us to question what we believe and why. Scholars continue to dissect the psychological impact her broadcast had on Allied troops. they are often used as case studies in courses on propaganda and its effects. Her story challenges us to consider the nuances of wartime allegiances and the enduring power of propaganda in shaping public opinion. As we reflect on her legacy, it becomes clear that Iva Toguri's actions and their consequences hold a profound relevance today. In an era where misinformation can spread rapidly, understanding the power of words and the role they play in shaping perception is more crucial than ever. The Japanese strategy involved using popular American music interspersed with propaganda messages, playing on soldiers' homesickness and loneliness. Homesickness was a potent weapon to exploit. The broadcasters would play familiar songs from the 1930s and 40s, reminding soldiers of life back home. Between these nostalgic tunes, they'd insert subtle propaganda messages, chipping away at the morale of the troops. These false reports were designed to instill fear and confusion among soldiers, making them question their own safety and the war effort's progress. The broadcasts also fabricated stories about massive losses during battles. Hearing these familiar songs and sensing the desperation in the false reports only served to strengthen their resolve. Understanding how Tokyo Rose's broadcast techniques were designed to manipulate emotions and weaken morale offers a glimpse into the subtle power of psychological warfare. This power, whether used for propaganda or as a tool for understanding human behavior, reminds us that words and their delivery can shape perception in profound ways. Some American prisoners of war, or POWs, were coerced into participating in the production of Tokyo Rose broadcasts. This coercion was part of a larger effort by Japan to use psychological tactics and propaganda to undermine Allied morale. Notable among these POWs were men like Sergeant Norman Smith, who, against his will, wrote scripts for Tokyo Rose broadcasts. The ethical implications of this coercion are profound, raising questions about the use of captive soldiers in propaganda efforts. The moral dilemma surrounding the use of POWs in Tokyo Rose broadcasts is compounded by the fact that many of these prisoners were subject to harsh conditions and threats. The line between willing participation and coercion becomes blurred, complicating our understanding of their role in these historic broadcasts. Moreover, the use of POWs in propaganda efforts highlights the delicate balance between information warfare and ethical conduct in times of conflict. The power of words to shape perception and influence actions was starkly demonstrated through these broadcasts. As we continue to study the history of World War II, it is essential to acknowledge both the effectiveness of psychological warfare and the moral complexities involved in its execution. The story of Tokyo Rose and American POWs serves as a poignant reminder of these intricacies. But the impact of Tokyo Rose's broadcasts went beyond mere propaganda. They became a critical source of intelligence for Allied military planning and tactics in the Pacific Theatre. Allied commanders began to decipher strategic insights from her broadcasts, gathering information on Japanese movements and intentions that they might not have otherwise known. The broadcasts also revealed the effectiveness of Japanese psychological warfare, prompting Allied commanders to devise countermeasures against such propaganda efforts. One notable response was the development of blacks or grey propaganda broadcasts that mimicked Tokyo Rose's style but contained genuine Allied information, aimed at confusing Japanese listeners and undermining their trust in the original broadcasts. These strategies demonstrated how enemy propaganda can shape battlefield dynamics and intelligence-gathering efforts, turning what was once a simple radio broadcast into a powerful tool influencing the very course of war. The story of Tokyo Rose serves as a stark reminder of the complex and often unintended consequences that can arise from psychological warfare tactics during times of conflict. Many veterans reported feelings of anxiety and paranoia, stemming from the belief that Tokyo Rose knew intimate details about their lives and units. The broadcaster's ability to speak flawless English with an American accent made the propaganda messages seem more genuine and personal. The psychological warfare tactics employed by Japan during the war have been studied extensively, revealing how deeply these messages could penetrate the psyche of soldiers. In popular culture, Tokyo Rose has been depicted as a seductive and mysterious figure, often used to represent the ambiguity of wartime propaganda. the enduring mythos surrounding Tokyo Rose serves as a reminder of how powerful and insidious propaganda can be, even decades after its original broadcast. Understanding the true identity of Tokyo Rose helps to demystify the legend and place the impact of her broadcasts in a more human context. Her broadcasts, known for their focus on music and light entertainment, ironically had an opposite effect on Allied troops' morale. The psychological impact of these broadcasts was not just felt by the soldiers, but also resonated in American society at large. Post-war media and popular culture often portrayed Tokyo Rose as a symbol of the enemy's cunning and deceptive tactics. The story of Tokyo Rose underscores the potent and lasting effects that wartime propaganda can have on individual lives and collective memory. She understood that morale is a fragile thing, and with her words, she sought to undermine it. But Tokyo Rose wasn't just about delivering negative news. She mixed entertainment with disinformation. But she also played on racial themes, attempting to divide audiences with messages that targeted specific groups. The psychological strategy was to sow doubt and discord among Allied forces. The broadcasts were designed to bolster Japanese spirits and reinforce the narrative of a resilient nation fighting against overwhelming odds. Surveys conducted during World War II revealed that many Japanese civilians found comfort in hearing her voice. Her messages, often laced with patriotic songs and emotional appeals, reminded them of their shared struggle and unity. Soldiers on the front lines were equally affected. Receiving her broadcasts was a morale booster, providing a lifeline to the home front and reassuring them that their sacrifices were not in vain. There were reports of soldiers huddling around radios at night, eagerly awaiting her next broadcast. Her words were seen as a symbol of hope and resilience in the face of adversity. Despite the propaganda's aim to weaken Allied morale, Tokyo Rose's broadcasts had an unintended consequence. They strengthened the resolve of both civilians and military personnel in Japan. This phenomenon underscores the broader significance and reach of her broadcasts. They not only sought to manipulate enemy perceptions, but also bolstered the spirits of those on the home front. Tokyo Rose's influence extended beyond geographical borders, shaping the psychological landscape of an entire nation at war. In the heart of Tokyo, Radio Tokyo's studios hummed with technological advancements that enhanced the reach and potency of their broadcasts. Shortwave radio technology allowed the broadcast to travel vast distances, penetrating even the most remote locations where American troops were stationed. These transmissions used high-frequency waves, which have a shorter wavelength and can bend around the Earth's curvature, ensuring signals reach distant receivers. The broadcasts were also augmented by powerful transmitters, capable of generating thousands of watts to boost signal strength. Beyond hardware innovations, the Japanese employed advanced recording techniques to ensure the broadcast sounded polished and professional, further amplifying their influence. These technological advances were leveraged strategically, turning Tokyo Rose into a figure of both fascination and dread among Allied troops. As her broadcasts reached further and resonated deeper, the influence of Tokyo Rose expanded to mythical proportions, shaping the psychological warfare landscape in ways few could have imagined. The technological prowess behind these broadcasts highlighted a new dimension of warfare, where information and perception were as crucial as any military operation. This blend of advanced technology and psychological manipulation demonstrated the power that could be wielded through the airwaves, reshaping the narrative and morale of a conflict. Her influence extended far beyond the boundaries of the radio studio, reaching into the minds and hearts of those who listened, making Tokyo Rose a legend in her own right. As we delve deeper into this tale, it becomes clear that technological advances were not merely tools, but key players in the psychological theatre of World War II. For now, let us continue to unravel the enigma of Tokyo Rose and how her broadcast left an indelible mark on the course of history. Her goal? To demoralize and weaken the morale of Allied troops fighting in the South Pacific. Historical records show that many soldiers found the broadcasts not just unintimidating, but often entertaining. One study conducted by researchers at the University of California found that a significant number of soldiers listened to these broadcasts as a form of escapism, The shared experience of listening to Tokyo Rose's voice turned into a collective bonding moment for the troops. This paradoxical effect of the broadcasts became evident in their long-term impact on the soldiers' mental health. The deep psychological impact of Tokyo Rose's broadcasts reveals how a simple radio program could hold such profound influence over the minds of Allied soldiers. This psychological impact underscores the power that propaganda can wield in shaping not just troop morale, but also the collective memory and history of a war. Nazi Germany also employed radio as a key tool in its propaganda arsenal. The infamous Voice of the Reich, for example, broadcast hateful rhetoric and disinformation to undermine Allied morale and sow discord among their troops. Soviet Union's propaganda techniques were markedly different, focusing more on ideological indoctrination than direct psychological warfare. Their broadcasts emphasized the superiority of communist ideals and the unwavering resolve of Soviet troops. The United States, too, recognized the potency of radio in wartime. The Voice of America was established to counter Nazi and Soviet propaganda by broadcasting news and cultural programming that promoted democratic values. This approach created an unusual dynamic where American troops were simultaneously drawn to the familiar tunes and comforted by the non-threatening atmosphere, yet still subjected to subtle psychological manipulation. Her arrest in 1945 and subsequent conviction on charges of treason further illustrate the tangled web of loyalties and pressures that individuals face during times of global conflict. Tokyo Rose's distinct influence within a broader historical context underscores the multifaceted nature of propaganda and its ability to shape public perception in both subtle and overt ways. As we explore the intricacies of her story, it becomes clear that the power of propaganda is not merely about the message, but also about how and where it is delivered. In the end, Tokyo Rose's broadcasts stand as a testament to the enduring impact that carefully crafted communication can have on both individual psyches and the collective memory of war. World War II saw an array of psychological operations conducted by both Axis and Allied forces. These operations aimed to manipulate enemy morale, disrupt communication lines, and sow confusion among troops. The Axis powers, particularly Germany and Japan, were notorious for their sophisticated psychological tactics. For example, the Nazis used propaganda to spread false rumors and disinformation. One of the most infamous examples is the ghost armies deployed by the Allies. This unit used inflatable tanks and fake radio transmissions to deceive the enemy about their movements. But what made these broadcasts so powerful? The answer lies in the careful crafting of communication that resonated deeply with the troops. Tokyo Rose's broadcasts were not confined to the battlefields of the South Pacific. They travelled far and wide, reaching Allied troops across the vast expanse of the Pacific Theatre. In fact, her messages were heard as far away as Australia and New Zealand. The range of these broadcasts was remarkable considering the technology of the time. Radio Tokyo's powerful transmitters ensured that the signals travelled thousands of miles across the ocean. Australian and New Zealand soldiers tuned into these broadcasts with a mix of curiosity and caution. The voice they heard was both familiar and unsettling. They would hear Tokyo Rose speak in English, her voice laced with a blend of American and Japanese accents. This dual identity made her messages all the more intriguing. In some cases, her broadcasts were intercepted by island territories under Allied control. The content ranged from music and entertainment to propaganda designed to undermine morale. The messages were crafted with precision, aiming to exploit the cultural nuances and emotional vulnerabilities of Allied troops. Despite the distance, the impact of her words was palpable. Troops reported feeling a strange mix of longing and dread as they listened. The global reach of Tokyo Rose's broadcasts underscores the power of propaganda in wartime. It shows how a simple radio signal can span continents and influence the minds of those who hear it. In the next chapter, we'll delve into the true identity of Tokyo Rose and uncover the story behind her enigmatic broadcasts. Many civilians tuned in to her broadcasts out of curiosity or fascination with the exotic and unusual. The lilting, musical quality of her voice added an air of mystery to her messages. Governments, however, reacted with concern. They saw these broadcasts as a threat to public morale and national security. Measures were taken to counteract her influence, including public warnings about the propaganda nature of Tokyo Rose's broadcasts. The impact of these measures varied. Some listeners became more wary, while others were drawn in by the forbidden allure. Ultimately, Tokyo Rose's broadcasts had a ripple effect that extended far beyond military personnel. They touched civilians around the world, demonstrating how powerful and pervasive propaganda can be. Her influence underscored the importance of vigilance in maintaining public morale during times of conflict. World War II saw the rise of powerful propaganda figures who sought to sway public opinion and morale. One such figure was Edward R. Murrow, a renowned American journalist and war correspondent. Murrow's broadcasts were marked by their stark realism and unflinching reports from the front lines. His ability to convey the harsh reality of war directly to American audiences made his broadcasts incredibly powerful. On the other side of the Atlantic, Lord Haw Haw was another influential voice. Despite his British accent and name, Lord Haw Haw was actually an American named William Joyce who broadcast from Germany. His broadcasts were infamous for their deceptive and often demoralizing content. While Tokyo Rose and others like her attempted to demoralize Allied troops, figures like Murrow and Lord Haw Haw showed the potential power of direct, honest communication. This comparison provides a balanced view of the wartime propaganda efforts on both sides. Ultimately, the success and influence of these broadcasts depended on the credibility and emotional resonance they held for their listeners. By examining both Tokyo Rose and her Allied counterparts, we gain a deeper understanding of how information can shape our perceptions during times of conflict. This knowledge underscores the importance of vigilance and critical thinking in an age where information can be both a powerful tool and a dangerous weapon. It's 1942, and in the bustling city of Tokyo, Japanese intelligence agents are meticulously gathering information. They intercept Allied radio messages, decipher coded transmissions, and analyze reports from spies embedded within enemy lines. This intelligence is not merely for military strategy, it's also the lifeblood of psychological warfare operations like those run by Radio Tokyo. But who is this enigmatic figure? And how does she come to possess such influence over American troops? Her broadcasts are a strange mix of music and light entertainment interspersed with disinformation about Allied losses. Each report she reads is a carefully crafted piece of propaganda designed to undermine the morale of American soldiers and sailors. But her true power lies in the intelligence that backs her words. The intercepted messages reveal gaps in Allied communication that can be exploited. She might mention a rumoured attack on Pearl Harbor that never actually took place, or exaggerate the loss of aircraft carriers like Lexington and Enterprise. Her voice is soothing, almost friendly, as she delivers these falsehoods wrapped in a veil of empathy and concern. The strategic value of her broadcasts becomes clear. They are meant to sow doubt and fear among the Allied troops. Yet, paradoxically, many soldiers found her broadcasts comforting rather than demoralizing. Her familiar voice and the music she plays provide a sense of connection to home in the midst of war's chaos. Thus, while Tokyo Rose's broadcasts are designed to weaken Allied resolve, they often have the opposite effect, boosting morale among the soldiers. World War II was a war of information as much as it was of firepower, with both sides constantly seeking to control the narrative and shape perceptions. Censorship became a crucial tool in this battle. The Allied response involved multiple strategies, starting with signal jamming. Radio signals sent from Japan were disrupted using powerful transmitters. This made it difficult for American soldiers to tune in to Tokyo Rose's broadcasts, reducing her reach and influence. In addition to jamming signals, the Allies also implemented strict censorship of mail. Letters from home were scrutinized for any mention of casualties or setbacks that could undermine troop morale. Any information deemed potentially harmful was redacted or the letter was withheld entirely. This ensured that soldiers only received positive and encouraging news from their families. Troop briefings were another key component of this strategy. Regular updates from military leaders aimed to keep soldiers informed without giving them cause for alarm. These measures highlighted the Allies' concern over Tokyo Rose's potential impact and their commitment to maintaining troop morale amidst the chaos of war. Despite these efforts, however, some soldiers still managed to listen to her broadcasts, finding solace in her voice and music. This underscored the emotional power of Tokyo Rose's presence during a time of immense uncertainty and danger. The Allies' response to Tokyo Rose's broadcasts reflected a deeper understanding that the psychological well-being of troops was as vital as their physical safety on the battlefield. As we see, these measures were not just about silencing a voice, but also about protecting the mental resilience of those fighting for their country. But what made her broadcast so powerful? Her methods, it turns out, were both sophisticated and effective. One key tactic was the use of personal anecdotes and emotional appeals to make her messages resonate deeply with listeners. This approach was so effective that it became a blueprint for post-war media strategies. In the years following the war, these same techniques were adopted by journalists and broadcasters looking to connect with audiences on a more personal level. The legacy of Tokyo Rose's broadcasting methods can still be seen today in the way media outlets strive to create a sense of intimacy and trust with their audiences. Her influence extends beyond wartime propaganda. She has left a lasting imprint on the way we consume and relate to media. And so, even in our modern age of information overload, we can still hear the echoes of Tokyo Rose's voice. One notable instance occurred in 1943, when Radio Tokyo falsely reported the destruction of aircraft carriers Lexington and Enterprise. The false claim that these carriers had been lost spread rapidly among Allied troops, creating confusion and fear. The psychological impact was so strong that some soldiers believed the war effort had been severely undermined. Military commanders recognized the potential damage these broadcasts could cause and took steps to mitigate their effects. The broadcast's ability to spread disinformation highlighted the strategic importance of psychological warfare in World War II. This influence underscores the direct power and reach of Tokyo Rose's broadcasts, furthering our understanding of her impact on the Allied war effort. As we continue to explore Tokyo Rose's legacy, the true extent of her influence on Allied troop morale becomes increasingly clear. The types of music played were strategically chosen to evoke memories and emotions in American troops. For example, popular songs from the 1930s and 1940s were frequently broadcast to make troops feel at home. This tactic was designed to lower their guard and make them more receptive to the propaganda messages. Furthermore, the music often carried subtle messages that aligned with Japanese interests. A well-known example is the song "Your Kisses Are My Favorite Wine." The lyrics include lines like, "I'll always be near you, wherever you are," which could suggest a comforting presence even in distant war zones. This song was cleverly used to make troops feel a false sense of comfort and safety, potentially undermining their vigilance. The broadcast also featured traditional Japanese music to emphasize the cultural divide between the Allies and their enemies. These selections aimed not only to entertain, but also to subtly reinforce the notion of Japan's cultural superiority. As we delve deeper into the role of music in Tokyo Rose's broadcasts, it becomes clear that her methods were sophisticated and multi-layered. She leveraged cultural elements, familiar songs, and emotional resonance to achieve her goals. The impact of these broadcasts on Allied troops remains a testament to the power of music as a tool for propaganda. Understanding this aspect adds another layer to the complexity of Tokyo Rose's influence and the psychological warfare tactics employed during World War II. These personal narratives were crafted to tap into the emotions and longings of American servicemen who found themselves far from home in the South Pacific. One common theme was the story of a young woman waiting for her beloved to return from the war. This tale often ended with a bittersweet message, hinting at the uncertainties and sacrifices of love in wartime. Some broadcasts included letters from fictional American soldiers who described their loneliness and desire to be reunited with their families back home. These narratives were designed to evoke homesickness and a longing for peace. The emotional impact of these stories was profound. Soldiers who tuned in often reported feelings of nostalgia and a deep sense of missing home, even amidst the chaos of battle. This personal touch made Tokyo Rose's broadcast particularly potent, enhancing her influence over Allied troops. It highlighted the emotional connection that could be forged through storytelling, even in the midst of war. Understanding how these stories resonated with soldiers deepens our appreciation for the power of personal narratives in wartime communication. It underscores the human element that underpins even the most sophisticated propaganda strategies. As we delve deeper into Tokyo Rose's story, we begin to see how her broadcasts served as a poignant reminder of the human connections that transcend the brutalities of war. In response to these broadcasts, Allied intelligence had to be vigilant against misinformation and disinformation, leading to a complex game of counterintelligence. These exaggerations were designed to demoralize US troops, but they also forced Allied strategists to question the authenticity of some reports and adjust their strategies accordingly. This underscores how human connections transcend even the brutalities of war and demonstrates the broader implications of Tokyo Rose's broadcasts on the military strategy and security of the Allied forces. Her significance goes beyond mere propaganda. She was a poignant symbol of the human resilience and adaptability that characterized this complex period in history. Through personal stories and evocative music, Tokyo Rose wove a narrative that connected deeply with her listeners. This wasn't mere propaganda, it was a finely tuned psychological operation. The broadcasts were craftily designed to erode the resolve of American soldiers. By sharing tales that resonated with their experiences and emotions, Tokyo Rose created an illusion of closeness. One of her signature techniques was to use music as a soothing balm, playing familiar tunes that evoked memories of home and loved ones left behind. This emotional manipulation was not new. It echoed age-old strategies used in battlefield propaganda to undermine the enemy's spirit. This multi-pronged approach, hitting both soldiers' emotions directly and subtly tugging at their familial bonds, amplified her influence. The emotional weight of these broadcasts was significant. Soldiers in the South Pacific, far from home, found solace and connection in Tokyo Rose's voice. Despite the intended negative impact, these tactics had a counterintuitive effect. Many soldiers found strength and resilience in facing these challenges head-on. Her legacy stands as a testament to the power of words and emotions in shaping minds and hearts amidst the chaos of war. In the 1940s, the image of a woman as a comforting presence was deeply ingrained in American culture. Soldiers far from home longed for familiarity and solace. The use of a female voice created an immediate intimacy with listeners, making the broadcast feel more personal and less threatening. This subtle tactic was designed to lull soldiers into a false sense of security, making them more receptive to the propaganda. Tokyo Rose's programs were often filled with music and light entertainment, further enhancing the feeling of comfort and familiarity. This juxtaposition of pleasant sounds with hidden messages was a strategic choice. The decision to use female voices was not random, but part of a deliberate psychological strategy. The Japanese military understood that soft power could be just as effective as hard force in influencing minds. To understand the power of Tokyo Rose's broadcasts, one needs to look at how she utilized American pop culture and slang to connect with soldiers on a deeper level. Her shows often featured popular American songs and Hollywood stars, which was designed to evoke nostalgia and homesickness among the Allied troops. This approach sought to create an emotional bond with her audience that could be used to influence their morale. For example, she would play songs like White Christmases and mention famous actors such as Bing Crosby. These references were not only familiar, but also carried deep emotional resonance for soldiers who might have listened to these same songs back home. The psychological strategy behind using such cultural elements was multifaceted. It created a sense of familiarity and comfort, making the broadcast seem less threatening and more like messages from home rather than enemy propaganda. Moreover, by using popular culture, Tokyo Rose could subtly weave in pro-Japanese themes without making the propaganda too overt. This subtlety made her broadcasts all the more effective because they were less likely to be detected as manipulative. Her use of American slang and colloquialisms also played a significant role in her broadcasts. By adopting the language and mannerisms of the soldiers, she could appear more relatable and trustworthy to them. The depth of research and intent behind her broadcasts is evident in the meticulous use of these cultural references. They were not mere fillers, but carefully chosen to resonate with her audience and achieve maximum psychological impact. This approach not only demonstrates the depth of her research, but also underscores the sophisticated psychological tactics employed during wartime broadcasts to manipulate morale and opinion. The evolution of her broadcast content tracks the shifting war situation and Allied responses, making it a study in adaptability and resilience. Early on, her broadcasts focused heavily on music and light entertainment. This was a strategic move to endear herself to the soldiers and make them more receptive to the propaganda messages. A notable instance was the false report of the loss of several aircraft carriers, including the Lexington. Such exaggerated claims were designed to instill fear and confusion among the soldiers. The content also shifted to include racial themes, attempting to exploit divisions within American society. This was a calculated move to weaken the morale of the troops from within. Despite these attempts at demoralization, her broadcasts often had an unintended consequence. Soldiers would tune in out of curiosity or to verify the information, making them more resilient. Toguri Dekino's broadcast strategy was dynamic and responsive. She adapted her content based on the evolving situation, always aiming to maximize its impact. Her ability to shift tones and messages made her a formidable voice in the psychological warfare of World War II. The relevance of her strategy endured throughout the war, underscoring its lasting influence. By understanding the evolution of Tokyo Rose's broadcast content, we gain insight into the sophisticated psychological tactics employed during wartime broadcasts to manipulate morale and opinion. This adaptability highlights not only the depth of her research, but also the complex interplay between propaganda, warfare, and human psychology. The use of popular American tunes served a dual purpose. It resonated with the homesick soldiers and subtly undermined their morale. Songs like Home Sweet Home and White Christmases were played frequently. These emotional ballads tapped into the soldiers' longing for their families back home. The choice of these songs was strategic, designed to evoke nostalgia and a sense of loss among the troops. By using familiar tunes, the broadcast created an illusion of comfort and connection to home. However, this facade was shattered by the propaganda that followed, effectively demoralizing the troops. The juxtaposition of comforting music with disheartening propaganda was a potent psychological tactic. This method ensured that the soldiers remained engaged with the broadcasts while being exposed to content designed to lower their spirits. The strategic use of music highlights how Tokyo Rose's broadcasts were more than just propaganda. They were sophisticated tools of psychological warfare. These broadcasts demonstrate the complex interplay between music, emotion, and propaganda in shaping human behavior during times of conflict. Allied troops were encouraged to write letters to their loved ones back home, detailing their longing and loneliness. These personal anecdotes were then read aloud on the broadcasts, evoking a profound sense of empathy among listeners. The emotional resonance of these narratives was further enhanced by the use of fear as a psychological tool. Fabricated reports of Allied losses and exaggerated Japanese victories were interspersed with the personal stories. This blend of emotional and factual content created a powerful mixture that sowed seeds of distrust among Allied forces. The personal stories not only evoked homesickness, but also fostered a sense that the Japanese were privy to intimate details of Allied lives. To further gain the trust of her audience, Tokyo Rose employed a shrewd strategy, cultural references, and familiar language. This wasn't just about using English, it was about speaking to soldiers on their own terms. She peppered her broadcasts with American slang and pop culture references that resonated deeply with servicemen. By invoking familiar movies, music, and local events, she created an illusion of intimacy. For example, she might mention a popular song that had just hit the charts back home or refer to a famous film that everyone was talking about. These cultural nods made her messages feel personal and relatable. But it wasn't just about entertainment. She also used localized content to make her broadcast seem more credible. She would discuss news and events specific to the regions where soldiers were stationed, showing an uncanny knowledge of their everyday lives. These cultural references helped bridge the vast distance between Tokyo and the battlefields, making her voice feel like a friend or neighbor rather than an enemy propagandist. Imagine a soldier from Texas hearing his state mentioned on the radio, along with details that only someone close to home would know. It was a masterful tactic to make the propaganda feel immediate and real. This strategic use of cultural references played a crucial role in making her broadcast so effective. It wasn't just the message, it was how she delivered it that made Tokyo Rose's voice resonate so deeply. And as we will see, this mastery of cultural references would have significant consequences for the morale and psyche of Allied troops during the war. For example, she might joke about the shortages faced by American civilians while highlighting the abundance of supplies for Allied troops in the Pacific. These tactics were designed to sow discontent among soldiers by drawing attention to disparities between life at home and on the front lines. By using satire and humor, Tokyo Rose aimed to disarm soldiers, making them less vigilant against the psychological attacks. The subtlety of her approach made it harder for listeners to guard against her messages. But the Allied troops were not so easily swayed. They recognized the absurdity of Tokyo Rose's claims and found strength in their shared resolve. In the end, her attempts to undermine morale had an opposite effect, boosting the resolve of soldiers who saw through her tactics. Despite the Japanese propaganda broadcasts, the Allied forces quickly grew wise to Tokyo Rose's tactics. By the later stages of World War II, many troops began to question the credibility of her messages. In response, military leaders developed educational programs to help soldiers recognize and dismiss propaganda. These programs emphasized the importance of critical thinking and skepticism towards unverified claims. Allied radio broadcasts were also used to boost morale among troops, providing accurate information and positive messages. Over time, many soldiers became increasingly skeptical or dismissive of Tokyo Rose's messages, undermining her intended impact. This shift in perception was a significant victory for the Allies in maintaining troop morale during the war. Yet, the psychological warfare waged by Tokyo Rose highlighted the power of disinformation and its potential to sway public opinion. Her broadcast served as a stark reminder of the importance of media literacy in combating propaganda. In conclusion, the Allied responses to Tokyo Rose's broadcasts underscored both the resilience of well-informed troops and the persistent threat posed by disinformation. Beyond the static and heart of Tokyo, a voice was carefully crafted to carry the weight of an empire's message. This wasn't just any voice, it was Tokyo Rose, the epitome of Japan's wartime propaganda machine. Her broadcasts were meticulously scripted and scrutinized, with every word chosen to influence, to sway, and ultimately, to control. Censorship in propaganda is a subtle but powerful tool. It's not about what you say, but what you don't. Tokyo Rose's broadcasts were a masterclass in this art of omission. Take, for instance, the mention of key Japanese figures. There was no direct criticism or even a hint of negative sentiment directed towards Emperor Hirohito or General Tojo. Every utterance had to be vetted, every nuance considered. The goal was not just to inform but to persuade, to make listeners believe in the Japanese narrative. News about Japan's military progress was also carefully sanitized. Any setback or loss had to be glossed over or spun into a positive light. The aim wasn't to deceive as much as it was to instill a sense of invincibility and inevitable victory in the minds of listeners. But why was this so effective? Because Tokyo Rose didn't just bombard her audience with raw data, She crafted a narrative that her listeners wanted to believe in. The power of these broadcasts lay in their ability to shape perception and maintain credibility among Allied troops. By avoiding direct criticism and presenting a polished version of the truth, Tokyo Rose ensured that her voice remained trusted and influential. Her broadcasts were a testament to the strategic use of censorship in wartime propaganda, manipulating information not by force but by seduction. And as we settle into the rhythm of her broadcasts, we can't help but be drawn in, much like the Allied troops who listened, spellbound to every word. Her voice became a symbol of resilience and control, an unyielding beacon in the storm of war. The radio waves carried more than just music and light entertainment. They delivered a potent message that penetrated the ears and hearts of Allied soldiers. The language choices made by Tokyo Rose were not merely incidental, but intentional, calculated to maximize her influence. Her voice was a blend of two worlds, the familiar and the alien. English, the language of her enemy, was used to disarm and lure in listeners who might otherwise dismiss propaganda outright. Japanese, the tongue of her ancestors, added an air of authenticity, making her message seem more genuine. These linguistic touches created an illusion of closeness, as if she was a friend or a comrade sharing stories over coffee. This intimacy made her messages feel more personal and therefore more believable. Emotional language was another powerful tool in her arsenal. She spoke of homesickness, of longing for loved ones back home, and of the horrors of war. These emotional appeals resonated deeply with soldiers, many of whom were struggling with the same feelings. But why did these linguistic strategies work? It was because they tapped into a deep psychological need for connection and understanding. In the chaos of war, her voice offered a moment of familiarity and solace. This was not about convincing soldiers to switch sides or surrender. It was about eroding their resolve, planting seeds of doubt and despair. But ironically, her broadcasts often had the opposite effect. Soldiers found a grim satisfaction in defying her, turning her words into a symbol of resistance. Her voice became not just a means of propaganda, but an icon of resilience, a testament to the power of language in times of war. As her broadcasts continued, they served as a daily reminder that even in the most distant and isolated places, there was someone who understood, who shared their pain. And perhaps in that recognition, there lay a glimmer of hope. A reminder that even amidst the chaos and brutality of war, human connection could still exist. The radio shows often featured popular songs and music from the US, creating a sense of familiarity and nostalgia among troops who might have been far from home. Tokyo Rose would intersperse these tunes with subtle messages that reflected American values and ideals. For example, she might play White Christmases while commenting on the warm weather in the Pacific, subtly reminding soldiers of the comforts they were fighting for back home. This cultural knowledge was leveraged to amplify her influence over Allied troops, as it tapped into their longing for home and the values they held dear. The use of pop culture references served as a form of psychological warfare, making her messages more effective and resonant with American troops. Perhaps the most potent effect was on troop morale. These cultural touchstones evoked a sense of shared identity and common purpose among soldiers who might otherwise feel isolated in their distant battles. In the end, it was this cultural subtext that gave Tokyo Rose's broadcasts a unique power, turning what could have been mere propaganda into something far more impactful and memorable. Through her understanding of American culture, Tokyo Rose inadvertently created a sense of unity among those she aimed to divide, highlighting the enduring power of shared experiences and values. And so, amidst the chaos of war, a simple radio broadcast came to hold an unexpected influence, demonstrating how cultural knowledge can bridge even the widest divides. Iva Toguri Dakino's broadcasts were cleverly crafted to exploit the emotional vulnerabilities of soldiers far from home. She used music and light entertainment to create a familiar atmosphere, subtly interspersing it with false reports designed to undermine trust and resilience. For instance, one particularly damaging broadcast falsely reported the loss of several aircraft carriers, including the Lexington, Enterprise, and Saratoga. soldiers began to see Tokyo Rose's broadcasts not as threats, but as curiosities. They would gather around radios, sharing snippets of her shows with a mix of amusement and disdain. This collective experience actually strengthened troop cohesion, turning the propaganda into something they could collectively laugh off. In this way, Tokyo Rose's broadcasts had an unintended consequence. They served as a rallying point for Allied troops. By collectively dismissing her false reports, soldiers reinforced their unity and resolve against the enemy. By understanding the specific ways in which Tokyo Rose's broadcasts influenced Allied troop morale, viewers gain a deeper appreciation for the power and subtlety of her propaganda. This chapter shows how her techniques directly impacted military operations and troop cohesion. Despite the attempts to undermine Allied troops, many soldiers remained resilient, recognizing the propaganda for what it was. In fact, some even drew strength from the knowledge that their enemy was resorting to such desperate measures. The depth of Tokyo Rose's psychological tactics cannot be overstated. Her broadcasts went beyond mere disinformation, delving into the realm of fear-mongering that aimed to break the very spirit of those who heard her voice. Iva's story serves as a stark reminder of the power that propaganda can hold over minds and hearts. Her techniques, grounded in fear-mongering, offer a chilling glimpse into the psychological battles fought alongside the physical ones during World War II. Her broadcasts offered a unique window into Japanese propaganda tactics and intentions. Each word uttered was meticulously analysed by Allied intelligence agencies, eager to decode any hidden messages or clues that could illuminate enemy strategies. Monitoring these broadcasts became an integral part of the Allies' counterintelligence efforts. Teams of linguists and analysts worked tirelessly to decipher her messages, scrutinizing every phrase for hints at Japanese military plans or troop movements. By studying Tokyo Rose's broadcasts, the Allies gained valuable insights into how the Japanese intended to manipulate public opinion and undermine morale. This intelligence was crucial in developing effective counter-propaganda strategies that aimed to bolster Allied resolve. However, Iva's broadcasts also posed significant challenges for Allied intelligence. The emotional manipulation and false reports she spread created confusion and anxiety among troops, complicating the task of maintaining accurate information flows. The Allies had to implement strict measures to ensure that Tokyo Rose's disinformation did not compromise their operations. They developed sophisticated techniques to verify her claims against other intelligence sources and cross-reference data from multiple channels. Despite the difficulties, Iva Toguri Dakino's broadcasts ultimately served as a double-edged sword for the Allies. They learned invaluable lessons about psychological warfare, while also grappling with the complexities of managing wartime information. In the end, the influence of Tokyo Rose's broadcasts extended far beyond the airwaves. Her story offers a chilling reminder of the multifaceted battles fought during World War II. From physical combat to psychological struggle, every front mattered. The Allied forces recognized the significant threat posed by these broadcasts and began to adapt their intelligence-gathering methods accordingly. Units like the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, and the Military Intelligence Service, MIS, were key players in developing counterintelligence strategies. One specific tactic employed by Allied forces was to monitor Tokyo Rose's broadcasts closely, analysing the content for any clues that might reveal Japan's intentions or troop movements. By studying the propaganda messages, the Allies could sometimes uncover inadvertent pieces of valuable intelligence. For example, the mention of specific locations or events might hint at Japanese military activity. To counter this, the Allies worked on boosting their own troops' morale through various means such as regular communication with home, reinforcement of military values, and even using their own propaganda to instill a sense of resolve. Another crucial strategy involved intercepting Japanese communications more broadly. By decoding messages between Tokyo Rose's radio station and other parts of the Japanese military, the Allies could gain a more comprehensive understanding of enemy plans. For instance, the Military Intelligence Service played a significant role in deciphering coded messages that provided insights into Japanese military strategy and logistics. The efforts of these units to neutralize Tokyo Rose's influence highlight the strategic importance of her broadcast during the war. Her voice held a power that extended beyond mere words, making her a formidable adversary in the battle for military and public morale. Yet, despite her potency, the Allies' response demonstrates their resilience and adaptability. They not only mitigated her propaganda, but also turned it into actionable intelligence, using it to their advantage. Her story underscores the complexity of wartime conflict, where battles are fought not just with weapons, but also with words and emotions. As we reflect on Tokyo Rose's influence, it becomes clear that every aspect of a war, from the physical to the psychological, is crucial in determining its outcome. Her broadcasts serve as a reminder that the battles fought during World War II went far beyond the traditional front lines, encompassing a multifaceted struggle for control over hearts and minds.